Hi. So tonight I want to talk about iron. I just did a video on it and it was too long and I didn't like how I went about it. So I'm going to try to simplify this one and make it a little shorter. So iron's a very important nutrient. It's used a lot in the production of energy, kind of like the blood transporting oxygen to the different things and stuff like the cells. So it's really good for that. It's also very important in immune system health. So like it's kind of like an antioxidant that kills certain bacteria and whatnot. And then another very important thing about iron is it helps in DNA synthesis. And basically, the more effectively our body can synthesize DNA, better it can replicate an exact copy of the DNA's original copy, the better we'll be as a human. Like these guys won a Nobel Peace Prize a while back because they discovered that DNA strands have this protective substance at the end that makes it so that the DNA accurately replicates itself, and over time, as it's effectively replicating itself, that protective substance on the end gets thinner and thinner, and then once it replicates itself enough times, which for the average person is in the neighborhood of age 40, then there's no more protective covering. And then instead of the DNA making like a real good, nearly exact copy of itself, it starts making like copies of a copy. So if you went to a copy machine and you just made a copy and then you put the original away and grabbed the copy and made a copy of that, and then took that copy away and took the newer copy and made a copy of that, and just kept repeating that process, you would see how the image would start to break down. And that's what happens when the DNA is no longer effectively synthesizing itself. So the more things we have in our body helping us synthesize the DNA well, the better it is. Even if those things wear out, think of it as the difference between a good copy machine and a bad copy machine. A bad copy machine would distort the image more quickly as it's making copies of copies than a really, really good exact copy machine. It would still distort the image, but it would be a longer, more time-consuming process. So if your body's not synthesizing DNA well, you might be as bad at age 60 as someone who synthesizes DNA really well is at age 80. So you definitely want all the nutrients necessary for that process to be fully functional. So one of the reasons that iron is an issue in a vegan diet isn't because there's a lack of vegan foods that possess iron. The reasons really, there's kind of like two of them. First, the type of iron in a lot of the animal sources is the type that our body absorbs more easily. And secondly, the same issue that we had with the zinc and the calcium, there's items in the plant foods that inhibit the absorption of iron. So first you had to have like a little bit more iron because the body didn't absorb it quite as effectively, and secondly, sometimes the very thing you're trying to get iron from also has inhibitors and prevents you from absorbing the iron, or you eat something else at the same time that inhibits you from absorbing that iron. So the good thing about the iron is, unlike the zinc, there's two different things. One's vitamin C and one is like lysine or something. It's a type of amino acid. Let's see. Yeah, I have to find it. That's annoying. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep talking while I look for it. But regardless, what these things do is I don't know how they like override these inhibitors. So basically, it's like this inhibitor wasn't in your way and you get good iron absorption again. I think it's lysine, so L-lysine, so Lysine. It's a type of amino acid. It's a real important one. So if you have either plenty of that or plenty of vitamin C, it will override these. And the only thing I can remember off the top of my head that has a lot of lysine is quinoa, that super green that you've probably heard about. So if you either have like some high vitamin C source like an orange or something, or lots of strawberries, or like you have quinoa, same time as you have some of these high iron sources of vegan food that have inhibitors, it should counteract the inhibitors and make it so you absorb the iron well. So some of the stages of iron deficiency, the first one, level 1, would be like your iron storage areas, they like start getting depleted. So normally your body will have like storages of iron to pull from to do its things, and you'll get to where you don't have any more storages. So storage iron depletion. So all your iron storage units start getting depleted. The second stage would be like early functional deficiency. This is when not only are your storage units empty, but also the amount of iron in your system isn't enough. It starts affecting the way your body functions, the way things get carried out, because you don't have enough iron in your system to work with to do everything that needs to be done. And in this early stage, the red blood cell formation will start becoming impaired, but not enough to cause measurable anemia. The third stage, which is when things start getting bad, is iron deficiency anemia. And this is when it starts messing with your blood production, it starts messing with like your body's ability to get oxygen to the cells and to the organs and stuff. So this isn't good. This is when they'll start being like symptoms like tissue oxygen deprivation, fatigue, rapid heart rate, palpitations, rapid breathing on exertion, increased in lactic acid production, and then the anemia symptoms would include things like pale skin, brittle fingernails, that thing where like you've probably seen it sometime where people's fingernails like get all thick and almost like everything that comes out is like old and deteriorating, and instead of just being a fingernail, like almost like split and be all big and wide. That happens. And then apathy, loss of appetite, weakness. That's something that you don't want if you're a strength athlete. And impaired immunity, and even hair loss, which I think there might be other causes for that than just iron deficiency, because I think I've always had a lot of iron, but obviously I don't have a lot of hair. So the point is not having enough iron is bad. You want iron in your system. So if you're a vegan, the important thing is to make sure you get enough iron sources, that you don't have inhibitors messing with you, and the way to overcome these inhibitors is either by increasing your vitamin C intake, having more things like quinoa with the amino acid lysine in it, or you can cook some of these things that have the inhibitors, like you may remember from the zinc video, things like spinach and Swiss chard and things like that. You'll have to cook them first. It will break down those inhibitors. So here's a quick little list of things that have iron in a vegan diet. Broccoli, they recommend that you chop and boil it. Spinach, they recommend you chop and boil that. I'm sure that all this is to break down inhibitors. Kale, chop and boil. Collard greens, chopped and boiled. Swiss chard, chopped and boiled. Sweet potato, baked with skin. Tomatoes, cooked. Oatmeal, cooked. Rice, white, long-grained, unenriched, cooked. Rice, white, long-grain, enriched, cooked. Okay, so either way. Whole wheat bread, tempeh, cooked. Tofu, soy milk, edamame, kidney beans boiled, pinto beans boiled, garbanzo beans boiled, peas boiled, lentils boiled, hummus peanut butter, tahini, walnuts chopped, almonds roasted, pistachios dry roasted, sunflower seeds dry roasted, dried figs, dried raw raisins, grape nuts, whole grain total, and molasses. So those are good sources of iron in a vegan diet. So make sure you get plenty of things of that nature, that you either boil things with inhibitors or to break it down, or else eat lots of vitamin C or things like quinoa, and you should be good to go.